Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Welcome to the Takeout. First came the wall of water, then the wall of tears. Texas will weep all this week as the death toll, currently 95, inevitably rises. As you must know by now, flash floods on the Guadalupe River crashed in heedless torrent through the gorgeous, craggy, and isolated Texas Hill Country over the holiday weekend. 13 people remain missing. Officially, water rose more than 27 feet. Eyewitnesses described water as high as 35 feet, elevated and accelerated by 10 inches of rain that fell in just 3 hours and roared mercilessly down what Texans know as Flash Flood Alley. The National Weather Service, by all accounts, had enough staff. Flood watches and warnings were issued. But these advisories are somewhat common in that part of Texas, diluting possibly a sense of urgency. It is also unclear who heard what when. The rains, fueled by remnants of a tropical storm and unusually moist atmospheric conditions, fell overnight, slumbering campers unaware of the approaching terror. Also dreadful and soul-crushing. And yet, more than 850 people, let me repeat, more than 850 people were rescued from this maelstrom, and we hope for more rescues. Helicopters, trucks, SUVs, people on foot, rescue dogs, more than 1,000 rescuers all sprang into coordinated action and continue to work to search for any sign of life. For these rescue efforts, at least, we can all shed a tear of thanks. For more on the aftermath and the very hard week ahead, I turn now to Nidia Cavazos, who comes to us from Kerrville, Texas. Nidia, catch us up on what we learned today.
Major, at this time, we know that the search and efforts here continue. We've seen them and we've heard them all day long. Every hour, we continue to hear the helicopters as they're surveying this land. They're searching, as you said, for any potential sign of life here. We now know that the death toll has risen in Texas to 95, and this includes the 27 campers, which are young girls, and there were young girls and their counselors as well. And so it is a tragic moment, a tragic time for Texas, as these summer camps are very much part of the long-standing traditions for the state of Texas. Now, we know that these searches are going to continue. It's multiple agencies that are involved, federal, state, and local, close to 19. And officials this morning did tell us that they're also asking for volunteers to come out and help, but they want to streamline these efforts and do it through the Salvation Army, because they have run into issues during the weekend where many people came out here trying to support, but they were getting in the way of these agencies that were conducting the searches. And so this is their plea. They're asking for help, but to do it through their recommended venues here.
Nidia, help my audience understand, it's a beautiful part of Texas, the Texas Hill Country. People go there because of its beauty, but it's also isolated. They know it's isolated, and if you camp alongside the river, it's hard to, A, get cell service in every respect, even when there's clear weather, and if you have to make a quick movement, it's hard to get away from the riverbank easily or quickly. Those are, it seems to me, contributing factors to this terrible, terrible situation.
And that's exactly right, because this is the Hill Country, and this is essentially what it's known for. It's the heart of Texas. This is where you come during the summer or spring break to get away from everything. You have limited cell service out here. You're along the river. All these cabins are typically rented up. These are Airbnbs as well. This is the summer spot. And these summer camps are also part of the tradition where I even, in fact, grew up with these summer camps and attended several of them for various summers. And this is known to us as Texas as the place where we come to relax and get away. So yes, we're also, as Texans, used to receiving these flash flood warnings and alerts. And in fact, some of the survivors that we've been speaking to from this area said when they had seen these alerts, they thought they could have never imagined what was to come. It was just yet another warning. And some of them, frankly, didn't even realize what was happening until the following day.
Nidia Cavazos from Kerrville, please give our very best to those working on rescue and those other volunteers supporting those trying to adjust to and compensate for all of the very many parts of this ongoing disaster. Nidia Cavazos, thank you so very much. The legislative director of the National Weather Service Employees Organization, Tom Fehee, joins me now here at the table. Tom, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you.
As I mentioned in my open, by all accounts, and I've read lots of different accounts about this, the National Weather Service in the relevant parts of Texas were staffed sufficiently and went through the proper protocols.
Exactly.
Walk my audience through the staffing and the protocols.
It was an all-hands-on-deck situation in both weather forecast offices. That means what a WFO is. We have an office in San Angelo, which is near Carr County, and then we also have the office in San Antonio, Austin, several miles away. Those are the two main hubs where we're coordinating the alerts and warnings for this particular situation.
Tom, that's in that sector at this particular moment of peril, but broadly, nationally, how is the National Weather Service staffed?
We have critical shortages across the country in multiple offices everywhere. If we were to have this situation, this dire, incredible situation that happened in Texas last weekend, happen in any one of a dozen cities in the United States, I would shudder to think of the consequences, because those offices are not as well prepared as San Angelo and San Antonio.
And when they're not as well prepared, what kind of things slip through the cracks?
Well, we have people who alerts don't get out. We have people who, if you have an office that's short-staffed with 6 meteorologists, for example, it takes you normally 13 meteorologists to run a weather forecast office. But there are some offices that have 6 and 7. 6 and 7 meteorologists right now in the United States. An office with 61.5% vacancy rate for a meteorologist. That's extremely high. And we have several offices like that.
I have read, Tom, that there are some old school methodologies, radios and radio frequencies through NOAA that might have been of assistance in this matter. Also, I have also seen reports that cell towers, and I'm not a scientist and you're not a scientist, so I'm just going off of what I've read and possible inferences that can be fairly drawn. When there is a massive rain event, cell towers may not function at maximum operational efficiency. Walk my audience through those two potential factors as we think about this catastrophe.
It's possible. There is a situation called radar attenuation in meteorology. They have radars that are blacked out by a massive rain event. So if there's a massive rain event, this was quite clearly a massive rain event. This is a massive precipitation event. Quite clearly, the radar could have been blacked out. But also in other situations, other electronic devices also could be blacked out as a result of this massive rain influx.
And what about these NOAA, National Oceanographic Administration radios?
NOAA weather radio?
Yeah.
The NOAA weather radio is a system that's been around for 50 years. It was created in the administration of Gerald Ford. We then went forward from Gerald Ford to now. Al Gore, there was an incident in Alabama in 1995, I believe, 1994, 1995, and Al Gore said, I want these in 97% of the country, and they are. They disseminated the information. They went from a couple of hundred transmitters to well over 1,000 transmitters today in the United States. And
so you have the transmitters. Do we have enough people or the right people with the receivers?
Well, again, the receivers that's an option of the public and the local and state county emergency management officials and public safety to have a NOAA weather radio. So it's the responsibility of the public at that particular point. That's the last mile of emergency communication, because the federal government has provided the infrastructure to get out the emergency alerts and warnings, all the way from an emergency alert from the President of the United States in the event of a national disaster, or in a local emergency alert like this, which is weather related.
Tom Fehee, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you coming in very much.
You're very kind. Thank you, sir, for the invitation.
Thank you.